What is going on, folks? My name is Spice. This is Spice Can't Fish. So, if you guys saw my last unboxing video, which I certainly didn't just film, I certainly didn't just change into some new clothes so it didn't look like I filmed on the same day. But if you guys saw that last video, I went up to the local-ish Bass Pro Shops that's up in Bridgeport, Connecticut, about 2 hours away from me. I was heading up that way to go cut down a Christmas tree, so I figured I may as well stop in on the way. Just picked up a few things here and there. If you guys want to see that video, I'll leave a link down below. But in the very beginning of that video, I actually showed you guys this thing that I picked up while I was at Bass Pro Shops. This is their Big Bass Bundle, and this is like Bass Pro Shops' version of a mystery tackle box or a lucky tackle box or something like that. If for some reason you guys don't know what like a mystery tackle box style box is, essentially this is just a bunch of different baits from a bunch of different companies and a bunch of different random colors that Bass Pro Shops selected, randomly put together in a box, and is now selling to you guys in a random mystery bundle. And the idea is that you're supposed to get kind of a bargain or kind of a deal. You don't really get to choose the colors or the baits that you get for that matter, but for at least most of these boxes, you're supposed to get like more than what you paid for in terms of baits. So if you were to go out and buy everything in the box individually, it would cost you more than like what you paid on the box. So yeah, we're gonna crack right up into this Big Bass Bundle from Bass Pro Shops. I'm really stoked to see what comes in here. If you guys look at the back, I'm actually going to cover the bait list so I don't spoil the surprise for you or me, but it actually lists all of the companies that are actually in the box. So we got Bass Pro Shops and XPS, which are two separate Bass Pro Shops brands. Got Yamamoto, got Seaman, got Strike King, got Rapala. It's a pretty solid selection of some baits from some pretty reputable companies, and then of course a couple of Bass Pro Shops companies to round out the boxes. But yeah, we're going to go through each of the baits. I'm going to give you guys my honest thoughts and opinions on the baits, both like quality wise as well as like just like my honest thoughts. Sometimes companies will throw like weird colors of baits into some of these boxes. I think a lot of the time it's just them throwing like extra stock that they can't really sell because it's a weird color that nobody wants to buy. So instead of selling it, they'll like give it to a company for a super discounted rate, and then that company will package it in a box like this in order to say that they're sending you something that's worth a lot of money, when in actuality it's just kind of garbage and they're not really losing anything by sending you a high quality bait but in a really crappy color. So I'm going to let you guys know quantitatively what we're getting in here in terms of like the monetary value of each individual bait, as well as the qualitative aspect of it, what I think about the actual baits, whether I think they're good looking baits, bad baits, if I've used them, if I haven't used them, what I think about the color, if it's going to be an applicable color for me, or if I think it's a pretty applicable color across the board. And so yeah, we're going to go through each of the individual baits. I'm going to let you know if I think it's worth it or not, and at the very end I'll let you guys know my honest thoughts and opinions about the box. But yeah, let's crack this bad boy open and see what we're working with. Again, this box cost me $44.99, so we're trying to get at least $45 worth of baits out of here, and I am already seeing some juice going on. Alrighty, so we're going to start off with this little guy. This is a Bass Pro Shops XPS frog. It's just their normal standard walking frog. They call this color tree frog. Again, this is the XPS frog. They call this the Kermie frog. I don't know exactly what size it is or if they come in different sizes, but again, just like a natural bullfrog kind of color. Again, I don't know very much, if anything, about these XPS frogs, so we're definitely going to have to throw this thing around a little bit and see what it's made of. But yeah, just based off of what the packaging says, it's got a black nickel frog hook. We got high resolution body detail. I guess the patterns are pretty high resolution. I gotta be honest, looks like a semi-art inclined third grader colored this thing in, but looks okay, I guess. I mean, it's a frog, it's top water. It's really more just about the silhouette than anything, so the color doesn't really matter all too much. But yeah, as you can imagine, it says it's got a weedless design, and it's sleek, mean, and perfectly balanced. Whatever the hell that means. I imagine perfectly balanced refers to how it sits in the water, but sleek and mean? It's a frog. Doesn't have a personality. Doesn't look any more sleek or less sleek than any other frog I've ever seen. It's shiny. That's more sleek, I guess. I don't really know what they're talking about in terms of that. They're probably just trying to string a bunch of buzzwords together to get people to buy this thing. But overall, not a bad looking frog. Alrighty, next up we got ourselves a Rapala Slim 6. So this is a balsa series. This is the OG series of their crankbait. They call this color shad. It's just a super natural looking shad style presentation. Rapala makes some great baits. I don't really throw a lot of their lighter balsa stuff just because it's kind of hard to throw on casting gear, and when I'm throwing a crankbait or a jerkbait or something, I'm trying to throw it on casting gear most of the time. But these Slim 6s throw way better. They're a bit bigger, they got a little bit more weight to them, and they just seem to be a little bit more like aerodynamic when you throw them through the air. I really like these things. I haven't thrown the Slim 6, but I have thrown the Slim, I think it's the 4, like the 3 to 4 foot diver. So that thing definitely works. I'm sure a little bit bigger, a little bit deeper, so diving size should work as well. And it's a great bait for this colder time of the year. Right now when I'm filming this, it's the middle of December, so it's about as cold as it's going to get, but coming up here in the early spring, this could be an absolute killer. But yeah, really excited to get that one. That's a really good looking bait. Absolutely fantastic looking paint job on that thing. And yeah, really stoked to get that one. Alrighty, next up we got another classic bait. This is the KVD 1.5 by Strike King. This is their natural shad color, so just like a super natural, super lifelike looking shad color. I don't really have to talk too much about the 1.5. Everybody's throwing the KVD 1.5. They're the industry standard, and they are for a reason. I tend to throw a few other crankbaits. I don't find myself throwing the standard KVD 1.5 all too much anymore, but I used to throw it a whole ton, as I think most people probably did, and probably still do. I just have like a couple of personal favorites that I tend to throw over the KVD 1.5 these days, but solid little crankbaits. And that's a great looking color. Again, super, super natural shad looking color. More natural than that OG Slim 6's color, honestly. This thing looks absolutely incredible. But yeah, it should be killer spring, summer, fall. Whenever those fish are up shallow around any sort of cover, this should be a killer bait. Alrighty, got ourselves a rattle trap. This is the standard Bill Lewis rattle trap. It is the blue back color, or sorry, the chrome blue back color. So as you can imagine, it's a bright chrome with a blue back. Nothing super fancy about that. Everybody knows, again, rattle traps catch a bunch of fish. Again, like the KVD 1.5, this thing is the industry standard, and it is so for a reason. I feel like everybody's thrown a rattle trap. Everybody's caught fish on a rattle trap. Everybody's caught a log on a rattle trap. This is the 1/2 ounce size. It's the 3-inch size. Make a couple different sizes of these things, obviously. They got a ton of different colors. Again, the rattle trap is not a bait that I throw a whole ton anymore, just because, again, I have a bunch of other baits that I prefer in terms of lipless crankbaits. But you can never go wrong with the classic, and again, this thing will absolutely catch fish. Alrighty, next up we got a Bass Pro Shops Laser Eye Spinnerbait. So this is a 1/4 ounce spinnerbait. It is a bright chartreuse color. They just call that chartreuse or chart. I don't find myself throwing a chartreuse anything very often. A lot of the ponds around here are like fairly clear to like a medium stain, so chartreuse doesn't really play in my arsenal all too much. I'm sure there's a bunch of people around the country who would say very different things, but for me personally, I don't find myself throwing chartreuse all too much. It's just really not a color that I find myself throwing very often. I'm not sure why. I know bass don't really see this as a chartreuse. It's more of just like a whitish for them. But yeah, for whatever reason, just don't find myself throwing bright chartreuse all too often. But regardless, we got ourselves a new chartreuse spinnerbait. I absolutely love throwing a spinnerbait, so this thing is definitely going to get some use at some point in the future. I just don't know when exactly. Again, I don't really fish anywhere that's super, super dirty, so I don't really have any reason to necessarily throw this. But I'm sure I can find a pond or two that we can throw this thing around in and probably find a few fish that'll eat it. Alright, got a couple of really expensive things in here that we're going to leave till the end, but wanted to talk about the soft plastics first. Got ourselves a pack of the classic Yamamoto Senkos in the old green pumpkin color. Can't go wrong with green pumpkin black flake. Just a standby color for dirty or clear water. Everybody's throwing the Senko. Again, another industry standard. This box seems like it's filled with some real good industry standards, which I like. We got a couple other things in here that are going to be really fun to throw around at some point in the future, but we'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, pretty sweet to see these in one of these little mystery boxes, especially a full pack of them. That's pretty dope. These Senkos are pretty expensive. They don't last super long, but they work so well. So definitely great to get ourselves a pack of these. Alrighty, the other pack of soft plastics we got in here is also in a green pumpkin color. This is the Prodigy Craw Jr. So this is Bass Pro Shops Craw Chunk Trailer. They also make the regular Prodigy, which is just like a normal craw style bait, but this is specifically designed for like a jig trailer, or I guess you could use it on like a finesse shaky head if you really wanted to. But yeah, this is, again, just kind of a jig trailer. Again, in the green pumpkin color. These came out either this past year or the year before that, but they're pretty new on the market. Haven't got a chance to try them at all, so really interested to throw these things around a little bit, see if we can't get bit on them at some point soon. But yeah, really excited to throw these things around. I'm sure we'll definitely be able to get bit on them. They got a bunch of action, it seems. So those two big appendages, the two big flanges, the kickers on the back of that craw, seem like they'll push a ton of water. And they got a pretty interesting design, so I'm really excited to throw these things around a little bit once that water warms up a bit. But yeah, these come in a 6-pack. They're the 3-inch size. I don't know if they make a smaller size other than this, but this is kind of the perfect size for me in terms of a jig trailer. Don't gotta trim that up or anything. It's just kind of like a perfect bite-sized presentation for the back of a normal size jig. And speaking of jigs, we actually got a Z-Man Jackhammer in here. This is the 3/8 ounce size. It is a fire crawl color, so again, just kind of like that bright red cross style color. It's crazy we got a Jackhammer in this box. These things run you like $17 or $18 as is. So that's really sweet to be able to get that in this box. I'm super stoked about that. Less so stoked on the color. Again, Fire Crawl is kind of like a niche color for me. I don't find myself throwing Fire Crawl very often. It's just kind of like an early spring, late fall, like winter kind of thing for me. But 9 times out of 10, I'm not really picking up like a bright red or a cross style bait, especially when it comes to a chatterbait. That being said though, now that we have it, I'm obviously going to have to throw it around a little bit, see if we can't get bit on it. Again, everybody knows a chatterbait or a bladed jig. The Jackhammer is like the highest grade, highest level of the original bladed jig. They come with the highest grade components. They come with a super sharp, super sticky hook. The blade starts chattering incredibly quickly on the retrieve. You get really consistent action out of this thing. You could go super, super fast with it or super slow and you still get a great action. These things are money. And yeah, super stoked to get one of these. Again, I wish it was kind of a different color, but still really cool that we got one of the Jackhammers in this box. And the last thing we got in here is actually the Bass Pro Shops XPS Comeback Shad. Now the Comeback Shad is an 1.5 ounce, 6-inch long swim bait. They actually threw a swim bait in here. It's a soft plastic swim bait. This is the pearl shad color, so it's just kind of like a bright white with like some pearlescence to it. And this thing is sweet looking. I've heard a lot of really good things about the Bass Pro Shop swim baits. I hear this is good. Their glide bait's also supposed to be pretty solid. And I'm really excited to throw this thing around and see what we can do with it. I hear these things are modeled after an old discontinued bait. I think they're supposed to be a little bit more consistent. They're supposed to have a little bit more consistent action. But yeah, we are definitely going to have to throw this thing around. I don't know if we'll do like a dedicated video to this thing or if we'll do like a dedicated video to this box. Actually, let me know if you guys want to see that. I think I might keep these baits together at least for a little bit. But if you guys want to see me do kind of like a mystery tackle box slam, but with this box instead, let me know down in the comment section. I'm going to keep these things together like I said, so maybe once this water warms up a little bit in the spring or summer, we'll break these baits out again and see if we can't maybe catch a fish on every single one of them in one video. Alright folks, I'm not really sure what exactly happened there, but for whatever reason I lost like the last couple of minutes of that last clip. So we're just going to refilm the last little bit of the outro, but I really hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I've added up the total cost of everything that came in the box if you were to buy it individually, so I'm going to have that displaying right here. I haven't actually done it yet, but I'm going to have it popping up right here for you guys. But yeah, overall I'm pretty stoked about how the box turned out. Not super stoked on a couple of the colors of the baits that we got, like I said, but overall not super bad. I definitely got a couple of those mystery style boxes that have been absolute garbage, so this one's definitely a lot better than most of them. Again, there were just a couple of colors of some stuff that I won't necessarily use all the time. I'm sure that some other people would probably use them a little bit more than I would. So a couple of those baits like the Jackhammer and that spinnerbait probably won't be used all too much by me, but a couple of those baits like those crankbaits and the Senkos especially are absolutely going to get thrown. Really hope you guys are looking forward to seeing those things in the near future. And yeah, really hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see some more content from the channel. Check them and wreck them, and I'll catch you on the next one. I'm out. Peace.